Wouldn't you love to have one of these cute little goblins? And no, I'm not talking about Furbies. I'm talking about Gremlins, baby. The creature who Star Wars ripped off to create Baby Yoda, the cutest bastard of the modern age. And hey, you can have a gremlin too. All you have to do is follow these 3 rules. Keep them out of the sunlight, don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight. But wait, if they can't get wet, how do they drink water? And if I can't feed them after midnight, when can I feed them? When does that clock reset? This might be more difficult than I thought. Welcome to Chinatown, in Kingston Falls, Pennsylvania. That dapper-ass top-hat motherfucker emerging questionably from an alleyway is Rand Peltzer. He's an inventor, and he's narrating to us right now.
Nobody's got a story like this one. Nobody.
Mr. Peltzer is out looking for gifts for his family. Sure you are, buddy. The little boy he's been hanging out with drags him to his grandfather's shop. Rand says, "There are no dildos here, this place sucks." The enigmatic playboy then reveals he's here to sell, not to buy, and busts out an invention of his own. The Bathroom Buddy, a Rubik's Cube looking piece of shit that has a toothbrush and stuff lodged inside of it. During the pitch, Rand says,
"Dragon breath."
Grandpa over here has one eye that looks like it can see the future, in which he's whooping Rand's racist ass. The Bathroom Buddy goops on his cheap suit, and then he overhears an adorable noise from the back rooms.
Where's that coming from?
Now begins our story.
What is that?
Mogwai.
What's he doing?
Singing.
Rand is as enamored with this thing as furries are with Zootopia. He offers Grandpa $100, but Grandpa says he's not for sale. Rand offers $200, but Grandpa would rather die than let this douchebag walk out of here with his magic squirrel. Fortunately for Rand, the child thinks $200 sounds grand, so he steals the mogwai out from under his family's nose and hawks it to the racist snake oil salesman. He outlines the 3 rules about sunlight, wetness, and food, and we're off to the goddamned races. It's Christmas in Philly, and hormone-addled little boys are yeeting snowballs at their crushes. Sheriff Frank Riley is trying to use his position of power to get a free tree for himself. The protagonist of the film, Billy Peltzer, is having some bad luck. This thin layer of snow has totaled his car. Fortunately, Joe from Small Soldiers is friends with this kid too. He rants without cause about how great America is, and how sus foreigners are. So, Billy runs away, and soon arrives at his place of work, the bank, where he stuffs his dog in a cubbyhole. His coworker, Kate Barringer, has a case of the obvious hots for Billy, who is oblivious. Oh, or is he? Here comes Mrs. Deagle, having freshly decapitated a snowman. She's the manager of the bank, and
Good morning, Mrs. Deagle.
What's good about it?
Oh,
is all you really need to know about her. This sweet suburban housewife begs for an extension on her payments, and Mrs. Deagle shuts her ass down.
Mommy, I'm hungry. Yes, honey. So am I.
Jesus. Mrs. Deagle says Billy's dog Barney wrecked her snowman. She demands Billy fork over the dog so she can murder it in cold blood. And so the dog sends her ass to the ground. Mrs. Deagle gets mad and calls Billy's dad a loser. That night, at the bar, Billy's coworker Gerald says, "Phew, buddy, your ass almost got fired today." Billy says, "Suck my balls, pal," and tries to leave. Gerald follows him and says he's going to get rich. Kate from the bank works here too. Billy is stoked. Gerald flexes on her.
Kate, you haven't seen my new apartment.
I haven't seen your old apartment.
Oh, shit.
Come on, we're talking cable.
This loser doesn't even have Netflix. And that's enough of Gerald for the rest of this movie. Billy returns home and knocks an ancient sword off the wall. Who wants to bet he's going to kill something with that later? His mom, Lynn, is making dinner. Billy helps by using this wild-ass egg machine. But it's one of his dad's inventions, so it's trash. Father Da Vinci himself returns home and gives Billy his Christmas gift. Billy shakes it, nearly murdering the contents, and then opens it as the lights dim down low. Damn, this thing is cute. The dog wants to eat it. With fuzzy paws and a snuffling nose, Gizmo enters the story in heroic fashion. Rand says it's a mogwai. Billy says what? Rand says,
I don't know, some Chinese word.
and they both settle on Gizmo instead. Did you know that Gizmo is voiced by Howie Mandel? That's right. Before Deal or No Deal, Howie had a show called Lynn takes Gizmo's picture, and it flips its shit. It flees into Rand's fulsome arms, and looks like it's experiencing Vietnam flashbacks. Rand lays out the 3 main rules to Billy: no sunlight, no water, and no food after midnight. Later that night, Billy hits notes on his MIDI board and Gizmo, fresh off a blunt, sings along with perfect pitch. It even jams with Billy. This thing is a genius. Billy puts a Santa hat on Gizmo's ass, making it look even dumber, and then shines lights in its eyes, traumatizing it forever. Billy pulls the gremlin from the waste bin and brings him to the bathroom, where he cries. So he douses the lights and patches the little chud up good as new. The following morning, Billy must do battle with his father's orange juicer. It goes as you might expect. Then, a Christmas tree disguised as a child appears. Its name is Pete Fontaine, and he's terrified of the juicer too. Gizmo's watching the tube, and getting wild, Pete enters and accidentally suffocates it. Billy shows Gizmo off. Gizmo struts his stuff, and Pete's life changes forever. He asks where he can get a mogwai of his own, but let's be real, nobody knows what the hell this thing is. Then, Pete commits cardinal sin number 1 and spills water on the poor little guy. Gizmo immediately enters the 7th circle of hell. His back begins to bubble and he emits a terrifying scream. Then, one of his testicles pops off. It immediately begins to convulse and expand all at once, and Gizmo ejects 4 more balls from his sack. In truly horrifying fashion, all 5 of the nuts evolve to become mogwai of their own. The one with the mohawk looks mean. Billy doesn't have a goddamn clue what to do. His mind is blown all over the far wall. Pete, however, doesn't give a shit and goes back to reading a comic with 3D glasses. Gizmo looks distraught. Billy quickly walks in on his dad being a failure, and the guy starts to pitch his kid on his new idea since nobody else will buy it. Rand then gets gooped again, and then Billy tells him about the Satan spawn in the living room. They're playing games and ripping trumpets. Mohawk spits something gnarly onto the carpet, and Rand says, hey, we should monetize this shit. Later, in the dead of night, Mohawk casts a devilish grin into the shadows. Turns out he has strung poor Barney up in the Christmas lights outside. How? I don't know. The next day at school, Billy shows his science teacher, Mr. Hansen, the mogwai.
Oh shit,
says Hansen. Then Billy does this. Oh shit, says Hansen. He says he'll keep one and run some tests. Later that night, Kate is ushering a drunk Joe out the door of the bar. Joe slurs drunkenly about gremlins and how foreigners used them in the war. He may be an alcoholic xenophobe, but he's got the inside scoop. Billy and Kate go on a romantic walk in the snow, and Kate talks about depression. Billy tries to cheer her up and she gets mad. Billy thinks it's going well, so he asks her out, and she says yes. Way to go, Billy. Meanwhile, in the lab, Mr. Hansen is getting freaky with the mogwai. He injects him with something. This movie is dark. Back at Billy's place, Gizmo is experiencing 3D way before Avatar came out. The other mogwai are starting a mosh pit in their bin. Desperate for food. The clock does not yet read midnight, so Billy goes to get munchies, and the gremlins conspire together. Billy delivers the meat, and dear fuck. The Gremmy in Mr. Hansen's lab is eyeing his sandwich. Hansen leaves. It's after midnight, and Gremmy's gonna have that goddamn sandwich. The following morning, horrific alien pods coat the floor of Billy's room. He realizes they sabotaged his clock, and he did in fact feed them after midnight. Hansen's cage contains the same mess. At least everyone in this town is equally incompetent. Rand calls Lynn from an invention convention, so he's out of town. Damn, and he could have helped out so much. Shortly thereafter, the metamorphosis pods begin to hatch. Gizmo watches the nightmarish scene unfold from the confines of a football helmet. Mr. Hansen calls Billy, then goes to greet his experiment. It begins to circle him, and he follows it to a desk. He makes a peace offering in the form of a half-eaten bar of product placement, but the gremlin, it seems, would rather have his whole hand. Billy arrives to find his teacher dead on the ground with a syringe in his ass. "Ah, not again, Mr. Hanson," says Billy. He runs for the phone and is cut deep by a gnarled claw. The terrified lad approaches the monstrosity, but it pulls an Among Us and bails through the vents. Billy then patches himself up in the med bay, and the gremlin launches his first attack. Meanwhile, at home, Gizmo is wired to a dartboard. God damn, this movie goes hard. The evil ones then toss him down the laundry chute, and Mama Lynn mounts the stairs brandishing a knife. She sees the hatched pods. Billy calls, imploring her to flee, but the gremlins cut the phone lines. Lynn treads lightly, enters the kitchen, and spots one of the beasts. It goes spelunking in one of Rand's shitty machines, and she murders it without a second thought. Another gremlin flings glassware at her, so she goes full psycho on it. A third wastes her gingerbread men, so she maces it with bug spray and then blows its ass up in the microwave. Sigourney Weaver, is that you? Mama's not done yet, as something is moving in the stocking over the hearth. She thinks about her idiot husband and unleashes a lifetime of pent-up rage with her knife. But it's just a toy, for you see, the real danger lurks in the Christmas tree. And if you pause right here, you can see some dork from art department pushing this thing. A bedraggled Lynn swings the knife willy-nilly, but to no avail. The gremlin begins choking her out with tinsel. Billy arrives in the nick of time, draws the sword from the wall, and sends the foul heathen's head cascading into the fire. Billy brings his mom to the neighbors, then finds a hard-done-by Gizmo in the laundry. Meanwhile, Rand is still at the convention, getting cucked by robots. Our two heroes arrive at the YMCA. They get jumped by a gremlin, who takes a piece out of Billy, and then leaps. Gizmo says, and the wretched urchin heaves itself bodily into the pool. Dear God, no. The once family-friendly body of water comes to an instant, green-tinged boil. It froths and lurches, roils and bucks, and we now know that this ride is just getting started. At the sheriff's station, Frank is getting liquored. He thinks Billy's story is hogwash. Mike from Breaking Bad reveals that he was young once. He too thinks Billy's a baby-back bitch. And all the while, the gremlin army assembles. At Joe's place, Joe is cursing his foreign TV. But the problem's not the foreigners, Joe. It's the Gremlins. In a scene heavily reminiscent of the one from Small Soldiers that I shared last week, the demon spawn erupt from Joe's garage, piloting his bulldozer. Joe howls that the gremlins are real, and then he dies. All over town, the gremlins are on a killing rampage. Back at the station, the cops carry on.
Be careful, Frankie. You want me to put the cuffs on him?
Seriously, in what world is it acceptable for cops to act like this? Wait, never mind. Frank gets a call about Joe being run over with his bulldozer, and he finally gets his act together. Meanwhile, Mrs. Deagle rides a Stairmaster with one of her many cats. She hears carolers outside, calls them glue sniffers, but when she goes to do them some harm, she finally gets her just desserts. She attempts to flee on the stairlift, but it's been hacked, and I don't know, you should probably just watch this part. I honestly forgot about that part. That was amazing. The police bear witness to this tragic event, and then they even see the death of Santa Claus himself. They panic and straight up leave. Even little Pete's got the gremlin's number with a pair of scissors, but these drunk driving while on duty washed up sons of... Oh, wait. Alright, karma is doing its thing here. And the Gremmies love it. Billy gets in his beater with Gizmo, and it just so happens to start up. Guess the foreign import is the safer choice than Joe's American bulldozer after all. Poor Giz is panicking in his bag. Meanwhile, at Dory's Tavern, the shit is hitting the fan, and this time, the shit is a gremlin. This crew is hacking darts, slamming brews, passing the hell out and laughing their asses off. They're gaming hard, they're breakdancing, they're electrocuting themselves, they're driving themselves into gambling debt. Whoa, that one drove too deep. I mean, hell, they're even flashing their alien Johnsons. Suddenly, Kate makes a key discovery. Flashes of light render the bad guys inert. Fan Gremlin gets smoked, but Burglar Gremlin has Kate's number. Fortunately, Billy shows up right on time. Gizmo scares the hell out of Kate, but it's okay because he's cute. This time the car has died out, and the power is shorting citywide, so it's time for our heroes to huff it on foot. They make tracks to the bank, where they earn themselves a brief respite. Kate decides to confide in Billy as to why she gets so dark around the holidays. One Christmas Eve, when she was 9, her dad didn't come home. The police launched a search party, and 5 days went by with no sign of him, until one evening, Kate went to get a fire going and noticed a smell. The fire department came and dove into the chimney, and they pulled out not a cat, not a bat, not a squirrel or a mouse, but her father. Kate's dad, dressed as Santa, had attempted to literally slide down the chimney with presents, and he got his ass flambéed. That's right, Gizmo. That's dark as fuck. The conflicted couple steps back into the streets, and all is suspiciously quiet. A quick detour into the local movie theater so that Gizmo can scowl like this. And then they come to a terrifying realization. Every single gremlin is in this building. For the sake of some symbolism I'm failing to grasp at the moment, they all toss on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and they get down singing along. Gizmo catches on to the melody too. The teens head around behind the screen and crack a hatch to the boiler room as Billy does what simply must be done. A lone gremlin spots a store across the street and leaves. The remainder of the Dark Army spots the teens just as they're making good on their escape, and a ghoulish chase ensues. Billy bars the door with, "What is that? How did that work?" Oh, whatever.
Whoa, that's what I'm here for.
That's what I'm saying, Gizmo. A proper gremicide. Except, there's one more, and he's skateboarding his lanky ass out of here. Billy, feeling massively aroused by the hundreds of living beings he just annihilated, gives Kate a sultry smooch. He trots off to the electronics section, where his archenemy somehow broadcasts his face at the boy for the sake of a jump scare. Billy carries on through a world of moving toys, and Gremly Jones is watching. He tosses a couple saw blades at Billy just for laughs, then flees on a trike. He catches Billy square in the back with a pitching machine. He busts out the crossbow to finish the deed. Jesus, this is over. But wait, Gizmo spotted some light. But wait, Bad Grem found a chainsaw. God almighty. But hold that shit up. Gizmo has a car. He's channeling the TV he's been watching and having a total moment. Now Kate's hitting the lights, and Bad Grem is whisked away by the force of his own power tool. Unfortunately, he's whisked straight into the presence of more water. Rand and Barney arrive outside. How will they factor into this climax? Probably not at all. Gizmo is shredding pavement in his roadster, dodging debris, and Barney too. Billy arrives at the fountain, and Chad the gremlin starts firing at him with a gun. He dips a finger into the water and begins to multiply. Gizmo comes in hot like an absolute lunatic, hits a sick jump, and crashes the car. He yanks on the blinds and they yeet him up into the ceiling. In the nick of time, the sunlight breaks through, and our adversary is melted away. Billy plucks Giz from the shrubbery, and an emotionless Rand wraps him in a plaid whatever the hell that is. Billy decides to double check on the goon. He did fall into water, after all. But no, it's all good. He dead. That is, until the abominable sequel drops. Back at home, Kate sticks a thermometer in Gizmo's mouth. Lynn goes to get him some chicken soup, but doesn't that have water in it? And what time is it? And suddenly, whoa, Grandpa's back. He's pissed that Gizmo's addicted to TV now. Billy starts panicking because he knows where this is going. But it's for the best, after all. Gizmo is in safer hands with Grandpa. The old man curses the stupid-ass family for butchering yet another one of nature's gifts. But Gizmo cries out with one last message. Billy leans in close and... Bye, Billy. Wow, damn, that thing is so cute. In a bittersweet final scene, the Christmas lights cast a magical glow across the crunchy snow, and Grandpa walks off into the distance, having apparently arrived on foot, the glorious mogwai safely within his grasp. Hey, if you liked that video, throw me a like and a sub maybe even a comment down there below there. That would show the algorithm who's daddy. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video.
I love you.
I also do gaming content if you want to feel like it's the 2010s again. The link is below. See you next time.